Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website. The Seattle Sounders is using this cool ticketing strategy that is called the First Match on Us program. So it's pretty straightforward. If it is your first time to ever attend a Seattle Sounders game, the tickets are free. So, and I think it's, I don't know all the details, but I would assume that it's select matches. So not necessarily, obviously, if Seattle is somehow playing the Inter Miami, I don't think that match is going to be free. But I think this is a really, really cool initiative. I think that this is a great way to grow a fan base that is already pretty prevalent when it comes to MLS. I think when it comes to fan bases, Seattle Sounders is definitely amongst the top of MLS fan bases. So I think it's really cool that they're doing this program where you can very much, if you're not certain, if you're not sold on MLS or even sold on Seattle Sounders, you can go to the game, experience Lumen Field, which, by the way, is a beautiful stadium, and experience a Seattle Sounders game. If you guys use the First Match on Us program on that LAFC match, which I don't know if that was, once again, I'm not sure if it's available for specific matches. Maybe this LAFC match was one of them, but if you did, you just saw 5-2 shellacking, so that's definitely a great way to start. And I think it's really cool that they're doing this. One, it's growing the game. I think that we need to start having these more accessible opportunities. I will honestly tell you, as a Houston Dynamo supporter, one of the easier reasons why I was able to support the Dynamo, at least go to attend Dynamo matches, was because of affordability. Tickets were super affordable. Even getting good seats were very affordable when I was going. And this is kind of like back in the day when I was still in the Marine Corps. So whenever I came into town on leave, I would try to watch a sporting match, like a sporting event. Ideally, the Dynamo, if the Dynamo were in season, but if not, like a baseball game, it's probably usually the go-to as well. But the Dynamo, one of the things that I liked about it, I didn't necessarily go online because SeatGeek wasn't really much a thing at that time, or any of these other ticketing sites. I think it was Axis. I think Axis was the ticketing site that you had to go to buy tickets to Dynamo matches. So in all actuality, it was much easier to just drive up to downtown, walk up to the stadium, go to the ticketing booth, and buy tickets from there. And from there, you can see the prices depending on the section. And I think at the time, I actually liked sitting in I actually prefer sitting in the upper level, ideally like somewhere around the sidelines, because you get like a better view of the pitch. But I do remember like first level seating was like $30, at least at that time. This is also years ago, so also a lot of pounds ago as well. But yeah, like I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a cool, the affordability. So it incentivized me a lot more because it was like, one, it's cheaper. So like if I had to choose that over a baseball game, which in hindsight the Astros were really terrible at the time, so I think their tickets were also just as affordable. But like versus the Texans game, I guess it was super affordable, and um, I got a good seat, and then I can focus. Maybe if I had like a specific budget, now spending $30 or $18 on a ticket, now I can think about, okay, let me get my drink, let me get my food, maybe I want a shirt, things like that. You can play around a little bit more. So I think that at least initially for me, the affordability was really cool. Now, if the Dynamo ever had this First Match on Us initiative program, I would be intrigued to see who actually like tries it out, because like I spoke last week about the whole Messi not coming here and people were crying, which if you're a child, I totally get it, but if you're a grown man crying that Messi didn't come to a Houston Dynamo game, I think you need to reassess your life in some sense. If that's crying material, if that's like worthy of crying like that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't cry. I think people cry, if you need to cry exactly, obviously. But to cry about Lionel Messi, I feel like Lionel Messi, for Miami choosing to rest him because they had a CONCACAF Champions Cup match coming sooner than later. I feel like if you're crying because of that, and once again you're an adult, priorities is the word I'm trying to think of when it comes to it. Once again, I totally get if you're a kid. If you're a kid and you're, seeing, you're going to see arguably one of the best players in the world, probably the best player in the world, depending on how you feel. Yes, I get it. You're going to cry because, you were hoping that this was probably like that once in a lifetime opportunity if you're a kid. So I totally get it if you're a child, especially if you're a super Messi fan and he's not there. I would get why you would be upset. Whereas you're an adult, and I mean, yes, it's disappointing, but I don't expect, like waterworks from it. Once again, priorities. And I mean, once again, I get it. You spent a lot of money hoping that you're going to see Messi. You weren't guaranteed Messi. You were guaranteed Miami, which that's what you got. But I get that part. So like for me, like even though I think it's cool that the Dynamo offered a free ticket for in exchange, a free ticket because of the fact that you didn't get to see Messi. I thought that was cool. I don't know how many people really are going to use that, which I think is disappointing because you're essentially getting offered a free ticket to select Dynamo game, kind of similar to what this first match on us is, essentially, and you're not going to take it. So but I think the Dynamo's a little bit of a different situation. But I will say, if you offer free tickets to a Dynamo game, you take away the ticket price away. Now you open yourself up to parking, and now you can maybe be willing to spend a little bit more on parking. Maybe you're willing to spend a little bit more on food. Maybe you want to buy a jersey. Like things like that becomes a little bit more feasible in some sense. But I mean, I think it's cool. I think more MLS teams need to consider doing this because I think one, it helps build the game, it helps connect with the community, and I think that's one big thing too. It's connecting with the community. You're trying to grow this team with the community. If you're offering free tickets to the community to come and watch the game, experience a Dynamo game, I think that maybe this is going to be a good way to pack seats. Once again, I can't predict it. I mean, like I said, my what I'm seeing more and more and more and more of is the fact that people just frankly don't care about the MLS. They just view the MLS as an inferior product, probably doesn't give it the light of day, or when they do give it the light of day, you get a match that is a tad bit boring, maybe a little bit like where you feel like you could do a better job on the field, which is obviously ridiculous. These guys are professional athletes nonetheless. Um, but and that's the unfortunate part. And then obviously it doesn't help when you have like all these like content creators that poke fun at the MLS. Obviously the fight and win, which I make fun of it constantly. I love the fight and win chant, which is kind of connecting it back to Seattle. But look, U.S. soccer is trying to create their identity. And I mean like, which is what everyone's been saying for us to do. Build our own cultural identity, and just because you guys find it cringe, maybe we like it, but which I think it's also pretty cringy. But that who cares? Like who cares? They're at least they're going to games and singing in some sort of level. Like I don't necessarily. I'm not saying go to the pub and start singing other songs, but I mean like they're trying, and I don't know why the effort isn't being at least acknowledged. But anyways, that's a whole other conversation for another day. I still, like I said, I think it's cool that they're offering free tickets to people for their first time. Spencer, you live in Seattle, buddy. I feel like you should probably, and I'm not gonna say anything because obviously Spencer is an likes Atlanta United, but I'm just saying, man. You're already in Seattle. You get a chance to get a free ticket to a Seattle Sounders game. Lumen Field's a beautiful stadium, by the way. So I mean, why not? Why not go for it? Why not take advantage of that opportunity? Yes, I do think more MLS teams need to think about doing this. Like I said, you don't have to go like. Obviously, there's certain games that you know for a fact you're gonna get people to go to those games. Like Enter Miami, you don't need that game doesn't need to be free. But like, for instance, Houston Dynamo versus Real Salt Lake, which is actually coming up this weekend. That one you can probably throw in some free tickets for. So like kind of certain matches. I'm not saying that they have to be. I think definitely throw in a derby somewhere. Like I think definitely having a Texas derby, whether it's FC Dallas or have the little Copa Tejas matchup with Austin FC with Dynamo. I think those are really good matchups that they can have for people, especially when you're on first time of a first match on us initiative, because what better way to get people in than letting them talk shit about Dallas or Austin. Like, I think that would be great to build, like, especially when they feel some type of way, like, oh man, we can't let Austin win this game. This is Houston kind of thing. That kind of those things I think is going to be good for the city. I think it builds a community. It shows that the Houston Dynamo wants to connect with the community. And I think that's what Seattle's doing. Seattle's like, hey, we already have a great community, but we want you to be part of it. We want you to see it. That person that's still hoping that the Seattle Supersonics becomes a thing. Well, we have a team here. Like, come watch us. Come see what all the fuss is all about. And I mean, look, we just beat LAFC 5-2. Want to see why we did it like that? Well, come watch it. And I think this is such a cool initiative. I want more MLS teams to do this. I think this is a great way to grow the game here in the US is by offering this. Like, I mean, if you're losing money, as everyone keeps saying that we are, at least as if you're an MLS supporter, what's the loss?
Who is that guy?